Hey everybody, how you doing? Dave Fennoy here. It is another Ask Dave Fennoy Anything on this is the last Wednesday in February, isn't it? I think it is. Wow, this 2021 is already going by pretty fast. Hey, I have mentioned it before. I'm going to mention it again. Connection Open. You need another way to connect other than Source Connect. It's been going down fairly frequently, I guess, because it's been so busy. And I had Connection Open save my butt again. Last week, I had a student working on their demo, and that's how we did it. Connection Open, and I got to record on my side, the engineer on his side, and everything was just hunky-dory. So, connectionopen.com, check it out. Now, let's get on and meet my guest, dear friend of mine and long-time video game director, Mark Estdale. How are you?
Oh, hi. How are you? I gotta change
Yeah,
the camera here.
yeah,
For a
just
bit
change
more.
the amp. Yeah, is there no color in London today?
No, it's 2 o'clock in the morning, so
So
tough.
So if this is your little protest for me, since I got you to do this at 2 o'clock in the morning, you're showing up in black and white.
Yeah. I'll change this camera.
Oh boy. Well, listen, it's good to see you.
And see you too.
We had a few years there where I was traveling back and forth to London to teach, and you were traveling back and forth to LA for your other studio, Vault 501, which I think is a victim of COVID.
Yeah.
So I haven't gotten to hang out with you in a while, and that's a shame.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It looks like you haven't been able to hang out with your barber for a while as well.
Oh, yeah.
Great,
Well,
the grand buzz. Yeah.
I haven't seen a barber in decades. Anyway, Mark is one of the preeminent voiceover directors for video games. And how did you get into this wacky business?
I saw a need, really. I got a background in performance and directing, and I worked in production for years in sort of telly and in music production. I got asked to set up a studio for a games company. And
how long ago
I did
was
it.
this?
Yeah, so this was the early 90s. So it was 93, 94.
Mm-hmm.
And I basically set up a studio to do voice for them. And they rang me back and just went, "You obviously know your stuff. Could you run it?" So I went, "Yeah, sure." Went and ran it. And they really didn't know what they were doing. And it was like, so how do we do this whole voice for video games thing? And it was a journey that started coming into sort of a corporate codey world from a sort of production creative world. I kept my background was I'd done years in theatre and in music production, and realizing one of the most important things I really learned in those worlds was you want to be able to facilitate artists to be free, and basically all the models. When I set up the first studio, it was a model that didn't really work for games.
And what was the problem with the model? What were they doing that wasn't working?
Well, fundamentally, the first game I worked on was, I think it was called Touche: The Adventures of the Fifth Musketeer for US Gold, and it was 100,000 word script back in early 90s. It was massive, really ambitious, and Pro Tools had just started up, really, and it was a piece of buggy nonsense that didn't work. It hasn't changed at all since, really.
There's those who will tell you that's the way it is now.
Yeah, but it was insane, and the way, and it was paper scripts all printed out and all that kind of stuff. And it was just like, the whole thing was kind of crazy.
Uh-huh.
And then there was no sort of management structure. But I'd also done a degree in sort of corporate management. And one of the things I discovered was Excel. and for data management. And I just thought, putting the two together was a real opportunity.
Now,
Uh,
you also had a background in theater, correct?
yeah, it was kind of fun. I started
So,
off doing. I was doing street theatre as a kid, then doing panto, which was an English traditional pantomime,
oh
which I
yes,
absolutely loved. And but once we got on to doing bigger shows, I fell in love with the whole tech side of things. So
ah,
that was my and every time every second I wasn't on the stage, I was with all the designers and the techs and the lightings and the sound. I just realized how powerful their contribution was to the whole process, and how you could just change with a touch of lighting and the movement of the sound can change the audience's perception of the performance. So that it was just like, oh yeah, let me at it.
okay.
And that turned me into a complete tech head, really.
So you get into video, and since you're getting into video games, early '90s
Yeah.
with sound and voices, because that's really the beginning of voiceover in video games. And I have looked at samples. I don't have any with me that I can play now of some voiceover in video games from back then, and it was terrible. It was really terrible, and often obvious mistakes they would leave in.
Well, I think it was, when I set up my own company in '96, expecting with things like LucasArts
Yeah,
had their heads screwed on, and they did some great stuff. They
yeah, they
really
did.
inspired me. I put their point and click, Dare the Tentacle, Manic Mansions. I fell in love with them and what they were doing, and I thought everybody in the rest of the world was going to be the same. So
Oops.
when I set up in '96. But the quality of the stuff they were doing was pretty. They had production values,
Yes.
and I expected everybody else to be exactly the same. And I think there's a lot of people who had a lot of ambition, but didn't know how to do it. And the tech wasn't there to do really fine interactive dialogue. That was the only model that really existed as far as
Well,
as I can see.
let's talk about that interactive dialogue. Now, one of the things we know about video games, generally, you are going to be working by yourself as a voice actor. There will not be another actor reading lines. Perhaps the director might feed you a line or two. But you have come up with a platform based on Excel, as I recall.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, it's moving away from that now.
oh. But that was the beginning of it.
Yeah,
Tell
yeah.
us about the platform that you've developed.
Well, yeah. It's a way. That's why I set up the Vault in LA. It was to actually demonstrate the kind of the way we were working, because everyone was kind of looking at you, going, "What are you doing?" We've been working in games. Yes, I set up my own company in '96 to basically give me the freedom to explore the creative process and how to liberate an actor within the studio environment. And I realize every single studio you walk into today, still, apart from this one here and the Vault, is based on a model that was designed for radio in the 1920s and never changed. So, an isolation booth, a piece of glass, a stand with your script on it, and a mic stuck in front of you. And you were either working ensemble doing an audio drama, which was great, or you were there at the mercy of a director, and it was to do the genius of the director to communicate, to give you what you needed to come out. And I just went, for games, that, for audio drama, it works wonderfully. And has always done. But audio drama stands by itself, and you build everything around the audio drama. And what you're doing with games is you're putting actors into a world that actually pre-exists. And it's like working on green screen. You have to be so precise with what you're doing. And the challenge that I found was really, how do I get an actor to connect to the moment they're in, the space,
And
the
not just
environment.
the words.
No, it's never the words. The words are always the exhaust fumes of the moment. So it's all about.
Whoa. So the words are just the exhaust fumes of the moment. I have said things like the words aren't that they got to be said, but they're really not that important. It's everything else, and but that's better than what I came up. The exhaust fumes of the moment. I like that.
Well, it's all about objective within a situation. It's about momentum. It's about acting is action. It's about doing something to achieve something within the context of people and an environment that you're in. So you may have an absolutely glorious performance of words, but if it's not connected to the environment, if it's not connected to other people, it's bloody useless.
Yeah.
You talk about, a video game dialogue being shit or not that good back in the day. And I think the biggest challenge is, there's a lot of really good actors who are doing the work, but they hadn't a clue what they were doing, where they were, and even today, the challenge is to have your performance connected to the action, so when we're doing full performance capture, we're back to theatre.
Yes.
We're back to film. We're on the set. So it's, you're into a way where you're creating around the action around the actor's performance. They're creating the action rather than
just looking at these words. I always tell my students, look, the words have to be said. Yeah. But what I'm really interested in is, where are you? What are you doing? Who are you talking to? All those things that an actor on stage or on camera is in costume, has blocking, has another actor that they're bouncing energy off of and reacting to. And we have to create all that in our heads.
Yeah.
And for so many voice actors, that is the toughest part to get, is we're so concentrated on, I got to say these words, I got to say them correctly. And no, they got to be said, but it's so much more than just the words.
Yeah. I think the words are all about action. So if you're thinking about where you are, who you're talking to and everything, that's a problem. Because, if I just say, think of a door in a room, every single person will think of a different door in a different room, a different place. The hinges or the lock will all make a different noise. Our imagination is completely wonderful, but we cannot place our imagination in the same place as an artist's imagination. So you say it's a closed room, and there's a big heavy door. There's a sofa, and it'll be all to do with what's in your head. And when you use your imagination, you break reality. So my challenge and the whole tech, the way we built the studio, was about bringing the actor right into the moment. So all those things of like who you're talking to, the energy, what's happened before, where they are, the distances, the sound of the environment are all present. So when you walk into an environment, you know how to perform within that environment. The environment speaks to you. The other people inform you how to speak.
Yeah.
Now, because if you get it wrong, it's nothing to do with words. It's to do with your objective.
Yeah.
And the words can change. So one of the other things we have, as what we ask for in production, is that freedom to let the words be free, in the sense that we're not dealing with Shakespeare here, where it's about precision to text, or Mamet or somebody like that. This is about expressing yourself within an environment to achieve an objective, and how the actor lives that moment. Oftentimes you get a script in front of you. You don't read words in a script. You read ideas. And part of the neurology of the work we're doing is about how the brain works and how we read. Because when somebody prepares a script, they actually have to back off from living to then think about how to live and then do it. So in a sense,
and think about what the life is in this script.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So one of the things I do as a director, I don't give actors the script before they walk into the booth. They know who they are and their global situation, but they're walking into a situation with a script in there.
Well, the truth of the matter is, most of the time, as an actor, you are not getting the script beforehand. The video games come out of high-tech industry, very secretive, and 99% of the time, the only thing you've seen are your audition lines before you do it. So let's talk about that. You and I have had the discussion that it's really kind of method acting in the moment, being this character. And I always say, be the character first.
Absolutely. You need to know who you are before you...
Yeah. And people sometimes say, well, when you have to prepare, how do you prepare for the performance? So, well, you can't, other than being the character. You can prepare your audition. You can spend plenty of time putting that together and making it right, which is, you probably want to do that so you actually book the job. But once you book the job, now you just have to be that person from line to line to line. And you and I had a discussion a while back, and you talked about spies.
Yeah.
And tell me your theory about spies and acting.
Well, spies were part of the inspiration because spies are actors. They don't have a script. So much so, it's kind of the fantasy spy, because the real spies, they're not doing the undercover work of James Bond and stuff. But back in the day, it's like during World War II, you had agents who were from the US, from the UK, going behind enemy lines to be somebody they're not. It's fundamental acting. And there is no script. It's all about being somebody else and living in the moment. And the connection that happened to me was realizing in the voice studio, if somebody prepared a script, oftentimes their performance was contrived. But if you gave them a script cold, they'd never seen it, and they just read it, it was the vibrant performance. So, people who go and do advertising copy, anybody who's done it and has been given copy in the studio, statistically, your first read is the best read. And however much work you do, down the line, it just deteriorates. And then you catch into it and you do the kind of the work to actually understand, to get into the freedom of letting go, to fake.
Yeah, that listening back and wait, I could have said that word a little clearer. I could have done that. Oh, let me.
Yeah,
fix
you get lost.
Yeah.
It's like anybody who gives you a line reading needs beating up. Sorry, it's just
wait a minute. If that's true, I've got a lot of. Go ahead.
But if that's true, you do that to yourself as well. When you read the line, you're lost. And you have to do the real acting work of rehearsing until it becomes natural and you own it again.
Yeah. And if every director that gives you a line read should be beat up, I know a lot of directors that would be battered and bruised.
Well, it's about, when you're pulling, you're not there to be pulled. What an actor brings is their intelligence and their understanding of character and life and momentum and action.
And that bit of themselves that we are enamored with.
Yeah.
I think of the character
Yeah,
actors. Our favorite character actors always seem to be playing themselves, and
yeah,
that's the thing we love about them. Uh, and if we inserted a different character actor, we have a hard time thinking that that could work, but it could because
yeah.
it's not it's who they are and letting this other character with perhaps a different worldview come through their rhythm, their sound, their mannerisms.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm gonna switch up here because you and I can go way too esoteric. Um, Demos. We have had this discussion about
Yeah.
demos for voiceover,
Oh yeah.
and I am sympathetic with your position, and yet I disagree. Your position is you don't want to hear demos with music or production. You just want to hear the actor.
Yeah.
Why?
Why? I'm not there to listen to me. I've got an imagination. You know, I turned on some demos. I got one today, and then it was just like this dramatic music. Then the actor came in. It was just like, and you know, I nearly just went in the bin straight away at the music. I wasn't there to listen to fucking production values. I want to hear an actor bringing a character to life in a situation, and I just want to hear their, you know, I don't, you know, you can use sound design to make performance sound better than it is. And I'd rather somebody record something on their phone without any editing. You know, they can stop and start if they fluff it, but they can then find what they're doing and then give it to me. I can hear, anyone can hear truth. You can truth the believable stuff. You don't need to fluff it up with sound design and all that, you know, cheesy advertising stuff. You know, I think most directors are intelligent. You know, when you're in auditions, you're working one-to-one with the actor. You know, they don't come in with I've got my sound guy here who's going to do the Foley and there's an orchestra coming up behind me, you know, to back me up. You know, it just makes it, you know, it's what a waste. So I absolutely hate show reels with music and sound design on.
And yet, I'm going to keep music and sound on my reel. And I think most people are going to.
You know, the one thing, I think that's fear. And you're being governed by, you know, I think you're being governed by the unimaginative. People who cannot understand, if somebody's casting and they can't hear a performance naked, then what the fuck are they doing casting? If you're trying to choose somebody and people will be influenced by sound design, you know, and it's just like, you know, it's I want the person, I don't want production.
You know what? And once again, I am sympathetic with your point of view. I don't think we're going to get that many demo tapes that are going to be that way, even with very fine actors. Although I ran into a buddy of mine a couple weeks ago that I had on the show, and he did exactly what you're talking about. I think he saw the article that you had either written or somebody responded to. Listen, let me grab a couple of questions here from some people that, you know, out of left field here. Natalia Bykov, is it ever possible to audition for small roles without a demo to gain experience while getting training and preparing a demo?
Yeah.
I'm not sure how that person, you know, how you would get the auditions. If you have an agent, perhaps ask your agent to send you some while you're getting your things together. But usually that demo is the open door. If you are a working on-camera actor, perhaps, because they might be looking for you because you have a bigger name than so many of the voice actors who have been doing this for years. So you might find a way in the door that way. But most of the time, that demo is going to get you an agent and listened to. So how you're going to get those auditions, I'm not sure unless you have access to them. Other thought or agree, disagree?
Well, where we post things wild in when we're when we're casting. So yeah, we have a massive database of every submission that's ever happened goes into the database.
So this is in London when you're doing, and when you were here, were you doing the same thing?
Yeah.
Ah, okay. Right, and
Yeah.
I mean, you're a different kind of guy. You do things a little differently. Let's talk about microphones right quick.
Yeah.
Um, when I went to London and when we met, I think that was one of the first times I was presented with a theater mic
Yeah.
and a little side piece lavalier
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, that you find in theater and musical theater that we typically don't use over here. I've got my 416 and my 103 hanging in the
Yeah.
booth, and I had one. I've used it a little bit, but I've got it hanging now in the booth, and I got a mic switcher, so it's plugged in, it's ready to go, and I used it to promote you today. So tell me why you like the theater mics.
Well, I can show you what we use. Actually, I'm just going to take my headphones off because there's one just sitting behind me.
Okay.
So I'm going to. I have two sets of headphones now. So
yeah, there you go.
This is how we do it. The headphone, the mic is here.
Yeah. And a lot of people would.
It'll be. I can't do it on the. So it basically sits on the head.
Yeah.
So I can't hear a word you're saying, but that's it. And now I've got the other headphones, and I can explain it. I can hear you.
Yeah.
So the whole thing about having the mic attached to your head, I consider I want the actor to move with the character. If you have an objective and you want to move and you want to persuade, you're getting a constant sound with the with the DPA. It's a bit DPA 4060, a bit of marketing, but they're really neutral microphones. You don't get the heavy bass end of a Neumann or that real, or the 416. We use the 416s here as a studio mic in the control room, and I've got boxes of them, and we're actually doing a production where, but we got But the thing is, you do it for location. We use them on here. I'm doing a production today using the 416, but it's I think 99% of all the work we do is with the DPA. Yeah. And big games are using them more and more simply because they're working on really well sounded, isolated performance capture stages.
Yeah. Well, on performance capture, they gotta use them because you're moving around.
Exactly. So you're on radio. We wire in the studio, but it's the same thing. It's all about movement, and performance is about movement. And I basically call the 416. It's a cage. An actor is a wild animal who wants to live and be free to move. There's a couple of videos on YouTube of actors just monstering around the studio, being the character they're playing, because they stop thinking about microphones and they stop thinking about the tech. And when you think about those things, you're not thinking about the moment you're living in. So that's why we use a different mic there.
Okay. Another question here, simple, Sarah Tyndall. If using home studios, do you require a certain preamp? If so, why? And why do I think you don't require a particular preamp?
You require a room.
Yeah, a good room to record in and a decent microphone.
Yeah, so a lot of people have really good spaces, but the problem is when we're doing so I'm talking about video game stuff, and the problem is every actor needs to be in the same space. So we've been fully in production since July now, even through the second heavy lockdown here. And I gave up doing working with actors at home because of if it's a single voice thing, room's fine. But to answer the preamp question, Don't give a flying monkeys. My favorite is the SSL2 because it's stable. People use the little Focusrite, all sorts of stuff. But it's clean signal and, good. But then, sorry, a good microphone and stuff like that. But you don't need a really expensive microphone. For the BBC, they've been doing all sorts of shows at home, and they've been shipping out, I think the SSL2 or the Focusrite with an ATM microphone, which is 180 quid, or I think it's like $200. And it's more than adequate. The most important thing is the environment you're in, is having it quite neutral.
Your room has to be good for sound. You don't need the sound.
Yeah.
And well, it actually can be too dead.
Yeah. The thing is, that's why you spend, $250,000, dollars, $500,000, $1 million on the room people record in.
Yeah.
That's what, it's one of the things that bankrupted me at the Vault, Well, all our production was international and flying into LA. March last year, it stopped.
Yeah.
And that was the end of it. That was game over. It was just like, well, those are things we
no
can't
video
predict.
Game intended, but yes, game over. Got another question here. Christina Tattersall. Hi, Dave. Hi, Mark. Any tips and tricks, Mark, for those with an interest in doing video games?
Acting. It's all acting. It's all acting, living. Keep submitting, look out for postings, casting postings, email my team. We have a really good casting team, and everybody who comes in, they'll get put through the pipeline and stuff, because we're always looking for new talent. We don't want to be relying on our old faithfuls all the time. But we use a lot of folks who are deeply experienced, because they bring something special. But one of the things that we think about is actors are the gold of a production, and it's the magic. You're putting together an orchestra, and it is for us. The casting is about panning for gold, and you've got to do the legwork with the casting. So they're working 365 days a year, with an open door. And sometimes we do big public castings like we would do for a feature film, and we will spend months on the casting. So we're casting productions now, which we're starting mid-2020. So we've already started casting those productions, and we've probably filtered through 1,000 actors already.
I read a little piece by you talking about casting, and you're suggesting that most game companies are casting too late, that they need to cast much earlier in the process.
Yeah, I wish. Yeah. Well, yeah, the games companies do what they want. I think there's a lot of people who are, there are some brilliant directors out there, and there's some brilliant creative teams out there who really get it and really understand the value of, casting early. Because what you're doing is engaging. So like the production we're working on now, the actors are doing fully acted filmed scenes in the late stages of the audition for a role. And the writing isn't finished. So what the actor's bringing is the life of a character into the writing process. So the writers can see and they understand.
And they can begin to write for each particular actor.
Yeah. So we always see production as a collaborative process. And the value of that, so some of the projects we've worked on now, some we've worked on for, franchises for 10 years, others for 5 or 6 years, and where the writers involved with the actors and the actors are involved with the writing. And you're watching this writing become richer and richer, and the characters deeper and deeper. And it is such a lovely thing. And when somebody's just throwing a script at you at last minute and going, bloody record this, you know, you're just running around like a blue-ass fly and letting the magic happen. But again, it's about that spontaneity, you know. And if you're if you're a production animal, you understand that you're flying by the seat of your pants most of the times, but that flying by the seat of the pants is, you know, the glory time. But we can't do that deep searching for actors to build an orchestra that does magic. You know, you've got, you know, we know players who we can go, oh yeah, that's really good, like session musicians who can come in and do jazz and blues and, you know, classical, and they'd be great. But it's, you know, to my mind, that is just like, yeah, it's just another session band, you know. And I don't want the session band. I want the, you know, there's somebody who's just going to come fresh.
That raw, fresh, gritty, real.
Yeah.
Hey, couple more questions here. What is something that you're tired of hearing that we're all doing, that voice actors are doing, that you're tired of hearing?
I'm never tired of hearing what voice actors. In show reels, they're as dull as dishwater, most of them. You know, you've got a game reel of ridiculous characters. You know, ages of you know, loads of shouting. Most people can shout. It's easy to direct and easy to look after somebody properly. And, you know, you just test them in an audition for that. You wouldn't ever audition somebody for their shouting
ability.
Yeah, no, that I get that wrong, because I tend not to, says he's doing loads of military stuff right now, but we tend not to do, you know, military. You know, I kind of specialize in comedy and horror and RPGs, which are, you know, big open worlds. They're all character based. So
somebody wants to say hello there.
Oh, honey, oh, it's so beautiful to see you, honey. I love you. Yes.
Lean in again.
Yay.
Oh, wow. Hey, you.
Hey, beautiful woman. I love you. Oh, it's so lovely to see you.
Look, bye, y'all.
Or, you know,
she warms the cockles in my heart.
She only does that every now and then to very special people. So,
yeah.
Oh, let's see. That gives me a chance to get a nice long question here.
Michael Glover.
I'm learning that there are so many interpretations of VO delivery, VO preparation, VO training, and it's all good. But there comes a time when no Zoom, no training, no anything but what I'm focused on, using everything I have learned so far. When I am producing project, I choose not to be distracted. I will always come back to training and other interpretations of VO. Love the family. Oh, it's more of just a comment than a question. Yeah, but nice comment.
Yeah.
And I think you kind of answered this, but let's make sure. Do you ever cast in the USA?
Yes, we do.
And if somebody wanted to send a reel, or how would they get on your radar to get notices about casting?
Casting. Shall I give I'll give the email address. It's casting@omuk.com. Oscar Mike Uniform Kilo.com.
Casting at UM.
No, Oscar Mike Uniform Kilo.
OMUC, yeah.
OMUC.com. Yeah.
All right, and let's see. The system you showed again. I think they're talking about that DPA. Is it DPA, Mike?
Yeah, it's a DPA 4060.
Yeah, 4060.
But you want space to move around in. If you're in a tiny box, have a 416. Keep a bit of air from it. Or, you know, you use a 103, don't you, as well?
Yeah.
You know, U87 or a TLM.
Well, they're all great mics. It's just, they need to be in the right room and the right distance and all of those things. And And if you're going to do the lavalier thing, omnidirectional.
It's an omnidirectional mic.
Yeah.
Yeah, lavs generally are.
Yeah.
But that's what gives them that really natural open sound to them. So like we did all the voice recording for Horizon Zero Dawn, which is all that was done with the lav mic.
Yeah.
And I think God of War, they did the same, but it's based on the performance stage.
There you go. Let's see another comment here. I have a nice collection of video games that I've voiced and no agent. Oh boy, you're going to get some messages, Marion. When I have my new video game demo produced, may I send it directly to you or your agency? I promise no sound effects.
You can put them on. The one place where I think sound effects and music are okay are when it's extracted from an actual game. But if you're creating a reel, if you've got a show reel that demonstrates your body of work, fine. But
much as I empathize with where you're coming from, because so many people getting to voiceover now don't have the acting chops, but they have an interesting voice. And if they do enough takes, they can put a reel together with music and sound effects that will sound like they can act. And then somebody hires them. They get in the studio, and I have heard this from numerous directors. They get in the studio, and they can't do it. They can't reproduce it.
Well, we would never, we'd never hire anybody from a tape.
Yeah.
Never. We'd want to hear them live. We want to get them.
The problem is you can do the same thing with auditions. Even if you are not using sound effects and music on your audition, you do 25 takes, you can cut and splice, Frankenstein it together, and come up with something that you can actually do.
Yeah.
So be careful of that. Be careful of that. Let's see.
Yeah.
Jen Henry. Go ahead. What were you saying? I'll bring it back.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm bringing it back. Jen Henry, innovations in both facial capture and image scanning call for actors not otherwise on screen to learn the art skill of the self-tape. Is it a different process for the game actor than on screen? If so, is there a resource that best illustrates your expectations for self-tape? And thanks for Marmite.
Yes, brilliant. Hi, Jen. Generally, with a casting brief where you're doing a self-tape, there's very detailed description of how that self-tape should be. So, we're casting another production right now where it'll be full scan. It'll be on the performance stage. We'll be using the actor's likeness as the main for all the characters. So, there are requirements for video shots, background. Some people want, half body or close up, and then a whole load of camera shots as well.
There are especially voice actors now who are auditioning for mocap and that kind of thing, where they want a videotape. What would you suggest a voice actor do to set up a self-tape situation? What equipment do they need? Is the iPhone or their
iPhones? The start off is the phone.
Yeah.
If they when somebody starts to be specific about tech, you need to get them to pay you for sorting out the tech. If they want really high quality, video footage and stuff like that, they should be paying for it.
What should they do for lighting and backgrounds?
Neutral, natural, no, lack of shadows. To start with, we're looking for an actor and how they move through a scene. And, so with the casting we've done, we've had people who have just worked solo. They've had their partner read in for them to play other roles. We've had storyboards, full storyboards for them to do the auditions to.
Now, I read something else that you said. When you first started getting into directing video games, you tried to do it like theater, like film, like TV. But your comment was video games come more from sport, from games, from
Yeah.
from the idea of competition, I think is what you were saying. Can you clarify that for me and tell me how that idea will help move some actors forward in voicing video games?
I think the essence of what I was saying there was to do with the difference between games and theatre. Game scripts are huge and complex. So, I just sent out a script to an actor who asked for the script, and it was 700 sides. Rather than just saying, no, I'm not going to send it to you, I just thought, I'm just going to send it to him. And so, we printed it out as a PDF and sent it to him, and it was 700 sides. And a lot of that is the dialogue is unconnected, within the script. And because the essence of games are about choice that has consequence. So, that is what gameplay is all about. It doesn't matter if you're playing chess, you're playing football or soccer. Any game, it's about taking an action, having a consequence. It's about life. So that's where the sport thing comes in. And it's all about that spontaneity, which I was going on about the spy and traditional acting, because traditional acting is beautiful about the interpretation and pulling together a character and really understanding the depth of a character. I love traditional acting. But games, you're dealing with such complexity, you can't cover all the bases all the time. But however, the parallel is that we live life, and every moment of our lives we are acting and performing. And what we do with games is allow people, like actors, to be free in the studio, to be them, to bring the character, as you said, character first. Absolutely nail who you are. If you're doing an accent, you may have to be consistent with that accent or the pitch of the voice you're doing for 4 weeks. It's not a 2-hour show. It could be a mammoth thing. So it's about locking yourself into the role, then living that role, and as if in the real world. And when I was talking about the script earlier, about how we don't read scripts as words, we read the ideas. Our brain is way faster than our brain.
Our brain is way faster than our brain.
Yeah, so when we perform a script we've never seen before, we're not thinking about it. It just comes out of our mouth. And yet we get it right. And that proves our brain is faster than our brain. We're in the process. I've been working with neuroscientists and stuff on the way we do this in the studio, and we were having a research study where we're doing brain scans of actors cold reading and preparing, and just see what part of the brain triggers, in the different ways of performing. And the Marmite thing is a really good one.
Jen Henry got you. Hey, real quick. What if they want to send something to you again? What's the email address?
It's casting or whatever.
I'm writing this
at omuk.com. omuk.com.
Okay. And let's see. There it is.
There you go. There, that's the one.
I just added it right there, so
Yeah.
that'll be there. And I'll just leave it right there.
Okay.
Oh yes. And for Jay Ratenoff, where can you submit your mother? There she is. What's your team email? There it is, Natalie. Let's see. Okay. Theodore. Hey, Dave and Mark. Question for Mark. Obviously, it all comes down to the quality of the performance, but how much interest is in there in actors with a wide vocal range capable of doing multiple characters at once?
Oh, great. Yeah, because we generally hire people for a single role. But then we'll spin off, they'll cover loads of other, characters and roles. Or we'll have, we're populating a world now. This week I've got like 300 characters to record. And a lot of those are, it's like background voices. There are people in the world, you're overhearing conversations. So having vocal range is always useful, and we will always explore it. But our way of doing it is bringing somebody into the studio on their strength, and then just exploring out from that. We got a young kid who came in recently who was just like, holy shit, he could go anywhere. And it was just wild. And they come up every 20 years, every 10 years or so, somebody with that level of ability. Just accent and age range and pitch range was just extraordinary. But it's not the thing that gets you. He'll get hired a lot because of what he can do. But for most, it's about who you are and what you can bring and the subtlety of it.
Cool. Another question here from Dong Dong. Question about demographics age. When an agent asks about demographics, what is the meaning? Are they asking about what age group you appeal to, or are they asking about your age?
I don't know.
Well,
I've never heard that one.
Generally, I think the answer to that question is when they're talking about the demographics of the character that you're playing, they want you to look and or sound like someone in that age group. They're giving you an idea of the age of the character, and hopefully they'll give you some more where that character is from, perhaps their educational level, so forth and so on, what trauma happened in their lives, or why they are the person that they are. But the demographics, they're not asking for your demographics. They're giving you the demographics of the character that you're playing.
I think, the great thing about voice acting, it doesn't matter about how old you are or how young you are. I'm working with teenagers who can sound 90. It's about, what is that, so we don't care about actual age. We just care about performance age. Yeah. You can't determine somebody's age by their voice. Unless
unless they're really old. And it's easier for a younger person to sound older than an older person to sound younger.
Yeah, I'm working with a guy right now. He's in his mid-80s, and I've worked with him for 20 years. And he's now sounding. There's a certain frailty to his performance, which
a little wispiness for his voice. He can't get the same power that he once did. Oh, here's one from Ashley Morgan. Can a person lead more than one video game at the same time? I'm currently doing VO mocap and my likeness on a game. Am I able to do another game too? Ashley, come on now. Yeah. Think of the number of movie stars starring in bunches and bunches of movies. That's why they're movie stars. Of course you can be in as many games as they will hire you for, and if your game is successful and your performances are good, you will be hired again.
Yeah. And if the client tries to put restraints on you that you can't do something, they pay you. a
Oh
lot.
yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, it's go spin or pay me the earth.
yeah.
I think. Yeah,
Oh,
go do the work. Doesn't matter. It's hard for people who get a lot of leads because people get tired of them and they don't want to hear it all the time. People who are really good. We're up against that. All the time. So.
this is a question I hear from students of mine and other actors a lot. Oh, geez, will I get the job? I'm new to this. Are they going to hire me? Or I've been in too long. Are they going to hire me? And the truth of the matter is, stop worrying about that. The only thing for you to worry about is that you are turning in great performances in your auditions. That's what you worry about.
It's always just they're
They're just as likely to go, oh, let's hire Dave Fennoy because he's been on 400 and something games and we know he can do a great job, as they go, well, not Dave Fennoy this time. Let's find somebody else. He's been on so much. Let's get a new, fresh voice.
Yeah.
Just keep turning in good stuff. You will get your share of work.
Yeah.
So
I think that
go ahead.
Was that me? It was a very strange noise there.
Well, see, you're a little, wiggy from lack of sleep.
Thank you. I'm absolutely buggered, as they say.
It's just about it's just about time for us to wrap up. Before we go, one last thing that I'm going to ask for everybody. What's the best thing a voice actor who wants to do video games can do? What would you recommend?
Again, act. Just keep putting it out there. No, in casting, make firm choices. Yeah, David was mentioning about this earlier, about who you are, where you are. If you don't know that information, fill the gaps. Never have a void, because if there's a void in the situation, in your imagination, in casting, that void will be seen in your performance. If you know who you are and you've made strong decisions, there are absolutely solid distinctions in the world, who I'm talking to, why I'm talking to, what do I want, all those things. If they're solid, that will cut through everything else.
And the truth of that too is it doesn't matter if they're wrong.
It does, absolutely. It's about choice, and it's one of the things, when we're in here doing the casting when actors come in and they've made choices, they're alive. They're being, they've got momentum. Yeah. If you're unsure, you are nothing. You're fluffing away into, there's nothing there. Yeah. So make choices, make good choices as well. That's the tough one. But don't make choices that are ridiculous and that contextually off. And the other thing is to hang with those choices loosely, because as soon as you're in casting and you do that, even if somebody absolutely nails the character, the way we see it, then we were doing the casting session, we'd go, let's take it that way. And we'll take it in a completely different direction. And for you to then go, okay, go for it. And that's what we want to see. So it's that adjustment. So you make choices, firm choices, but then go with other choices.
Well,
that is where that is the core at it.
That is so much of what being an actor is. We are artists who make choices and bring a certain thing, but we're also technicians who sometimes say it a little faster, say it a little slower. No, you're actually talking to that person, not that person. No, you feel this way about it. Oh, can you make it louder? The person's further away. You want to be able to adjust, but it's getting in touch with being able to bring forth the thought, the feeling, the movement, the relationship. Bring that forth in your character, and you have to know what the scene is. As a matter of fact, I'm going to start doing a workshop on just scene study on what's going on, and why is it that even though we can all figure out exactly what's going on, why different choices can be made and how they can be made, and discover that you can have 10 different really good actors with a scene, and that scene is going to be 10 different ways. Yeah, wait a minute. I'm supposed to give you the last word. Go for it. Just don't fall asleep at your desk and start snoring there.
Hey, when I get tired, I can do this.
Oh, yes, the stare.
No, my eye just wanders off into zombie land.
Well, listen, it's 7:01. I got you to stay up for me from 2 to 3 o'clock in the morning there in London.
Yeah.
Mark, thank you so much. One of my great joys in life is talking about acting with you.
Yeah.
So thank you for this. And I don't know when I'll be able to see you in person, but
oh God, I hope it's soon, my friend. Actually, I've just cast you as the president for a little scene I want doing with you. So.
Oh, okay, fantastic. I'll be happy to be the president.
Jolly good.
And I promise not to tweet a bunch of mess.
Yeah.
Well, listen, I will let you go. Love you.
Yeah.
Get some sleep, and we'll talk soon.
Yeah, I hope so. Casting everybody for joining us tonight. It's been a real pleasure.
And I've got the casting down there, casting at OMUC.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's see what people send.
Yeah, it'll be interesting.
Yeah, so we'll see what sort of demographic we get. of the sound effects and non-sound effects stuff.
Yeah, there you go. Anyway, saying bye to Mark and saying bye to everybody else. Thank you for joining us for Ask Dave Fennoy Anything. Next week, we'll do it again. And in the meantime, book something. See ya.